Novak book group meeting. As you can tell, I'm not in my normal digs. I'm in what's called a tiny house, which is just a house that comes out of a box and they put it together, and it just contains like a bedroom, living room, kitchen, little desk, and a tiny bathroom. And it's for workers in the oil field out here in West Texas. So I'm in Pecos. You'll probably see cars and trucks or hear them drive by on the gravel outside. There's like 200 of these homes. And my husband, I'm at work with him. My husband is actually putting this together with his nephew, Travis. And he talked me into going to work with him this week, which I always love to come and be with him. But it just happened to overlap with our book group meeting. So I was like, are you sure you're going to have internet? And luckily we do have internet, but he was not counting on the fact that a major dust storm has rolled in and it's really made the place kind of dark. So anyway, we're making do with what we have, and I'm super excited to be here. And I know that Katherine Center is going to be joining us soon, and she's super excited to be here. So I think you're in for a treat getting to know her better. So be sure to like and share this video to be entered to win a $50 gift card to the Brendan Novak store, and drop a comment below letting us know where you're joining from. And if you remember when you joined the book group, put that too. It's always fun to look back at who's been with us for how many years. And if you're new, we're happy to hear that too, and we welcome you. For those who are new, just to give you an idea of how this all works, we select a featured read each month that we read together. And then at the end of the month, on the last Thursday, I interview the author. So we get to hear, what inspired her to write the book and ask her questions about the book as a group. And so we have had some amazing authors, some big names, some fabulous debut authors who really deserve, a platform to get their work out there. And so we've had a multitude of genres. We've had suspense. We've had mostly it's suspense, romance, women's fiction, and occasionally like maybe a literary novel. So we try to mix it up for those people who have favorites. We've even had some mystery, of course, and I'm considering a fun cozy mystery, which we've never done, for next year. So let me know in the comments if that's a type of book that you would be interested in trying for one of our months. And if you want to get an autographed copy of each book we read so that you have the entire stack at the end of the year, you can get one in our Brendan Novak book boxes. It's a monthly subscription for only $60. Just go to brendannovak.com, click on store, and you can sign up to get a monthly book box that comes with an autographed copy of each book that we read. So for instance, everybody who got the June box got an autographed copy of The Shippers, which is our June read, and by Katherine Center. So many people, I've heard so many great comments about this book that you guys are all loving it as much as me. And that's been really fun. It's lighthearted. And of course, it ends happy. That's in the author note at the very beginning, which was written so eloquently about the need for more love and what feel-good books like this can do for your heart and your health and your emotional well-being, all of it. So anyway, I wanted to also let you know that in case you haven't heard, we have a autographed copy only subscription now. So we had people asking us for something at a lower price point, and of course our margins are so thin on the boxes, and we try to put so many great things in them, especially once you have to account for shipping, which has gotten so freaking expensive, and processing on the store and the packaging and the packing. And anyway, you add it all up, the margins get narrow quickly. So we weren't able to do the boxes any cheaper, but we do have this autographed copy only subscription. So for those of you who still want to participate at a lower price point, that might be a good option for you. So as I said, this month we're featuring The Shippers by New York Times bestselling author Katherine Center. We're going to bring her on in just a little bit to chat. Don't worry, we're careful about spoilers. We don't give anything away that's going to ruin your enjoyment of the novel, because we know not everybody is finished quite yet, but we do have incentives for you to finish. So once you do finish, make sure you log in on my website, and then you're entered to win a $100 gift card to the Brendan Novak store. So we give you 2 weeks after the month of the book that we're reading it in. So for instance, for June, you'll have until July 15th to log this book to be included in that drawing. And of course, when you read all 12 books, you earn your reader's pin for that year. It's part of the Brendan Novak book group challenge, every book that we feature. So we've been doing these interviews for almost 10 years. I cannot even believe that. That blows my mind when I start telling people some of the authors that we featured I look back, I mean, Kristen Hanna and James Patterson and Susan Wiggs and Robin Carr and the ones that we have coming up. I mean, we've got some amazing authors just the rest of this year, right? We've got the Bridgerton, first book in the Bridgerton series, a beautiful collectible edition. So Julia Quinn will be joining us and so many fun things happening. But anyway, we love the group. We hope you guys are all loving it. And we used to travel to the author's house to visit them. So from like 2017 to 2020, 2017 to 2020, we would go and do this travel. So we got to go even over to England and Peter James and the Isle of Jersey and lots of cool places. And we wish we could still do that, but then COVID hit and it kind of shut us down. And so we haven't gotten back to that quite yet. Well, with our busy schedules and the increased cost of travel, we've kind of, opted to do these split screens. But I think the real reason is Lexi found a guy and she doesn't want to leave her honey anymore. So I'm kind of outing her. I think we'd still be traveling more if not for that, but he's worth it. I love that boy too. So I get why she doesn't want to leave him. So anyway, tonight I thought that I would be, when I found out that Katherine lives in Texas, I thought, oh, perfect. I'm going to be in Texas. I'll just pop on over and I'll interview her in person like we used to do. And then Lexi and I charted it out and we're like, Texas is a lot bigger than what we thought. Like I'm 8 hours away from her. So unfortunately that wasn't feasible for us, but it would have been so fun to meet her in person. You can tell she's a delightful person just from her book. So, we are going to be on the split screen, but it has worked for many years now, and we're excited to be able to do it again. I have another shipment of 1,000 books hitting when I get home that I have to sign, and this has been such an exciting thing. I mean, I'll admit it's been a lot of work. We're up to 8,000 books now, but the free lemon bag charm, everybody loves it so much that it's been really popular, and so these have been selling like hotcakes, and we ran out of the charms, I think 3 times now, and we just reordered, have another big shipment coming, and I'll get home and sign those books. We really want to thank everybody for the support that you have given this new book. It's done 2 things. It really came at an important time because sales volume matters a lot when you go back to contract with a publisher, and I'm at the end of my contract. So things will be looking a little better when we go back to contract, hopefully because of this. So thank you for that. And also, we wanted to tell you too that we created that read along video for you when we went to Italy in March, and we want to make sure that you get that if you would like to have it. So if you go to my website, there's a order Meet Me in Italy page, and you just scroll down and fill out that form and you'll receive the link to the video. So the other thing that the good sells for Meet Me in Italy have done is I kind of really wanted to write a Meet Me in series where I could go to these fabulous vacation destinations for research, but also bring you there through the pages of my book. And so I pitched that to my editor, and they went for Meet Me in France. So those of you who haven't heard that news, that's on the horizon. I've actually rented an apartment in Lyon in the south of France, because the book is set in a provincial French town it's going to be kind of have that chocolat feel. It's one of my favorite movies. And so I'm really loving writing this book, and I can't wait to take you all to France. Although I'm running into the weirdest thing. If you guys know anything about a mobility license, please put it in the comments and help me out here, because the rental place is now saying that they require a mobility license, and I've never even heard of that. So I got to figure out what documents they need for that, or they're going to cancel my subscription or my reservation. So I'm working through that, and hopefully I'll be able to keep this reservation, because it's a perfect apartment to be able to stay for a month and do all my research. And I feel like I can write from a place of more authority, the more confident I am in my material. So that's why I'm learning French. I started in December. And so I've been taking French lessons on Duolingo and have my streak going up to 190 days. So whoop, whoop. So that's pretty good. Let me know too if you think we should do a read along video for Meet Me in France. I think Lexi would love for us to do that, because then she gets to come over and help me with it. And we love traveling together. Also, in a last bit of news, I wanted everybody to know that we've extended the deadline for the Meet Me in Italy photo contest. We had so many people contact us who wanted us to wait until after the summer, when they had the chance to go on vacation and take pictures in the spots that they wanted to picture the book. And so it'll now end on the last day of summer, which isn't until September. Let me double check. Yeah, September 22nd. And so for a chance to win a $250 gift card to either hotel or airfare, or even a bookstore, if you can't travel or it's too late for you to travel, then we will, the winner of that photo contest will get the $250 gift certificate. And all you have to do is post on your socials somewhere you think I should meet you, and have it, and make sure you include a copy of the book. And you just tag me at author Brenda Novak, and use hashtag meet me in Italy when you do your posts. So it's been really fun to see some of those come through. A lot of people have done it already. So I can't wait to see what you come up with if you haven't entered yet. If you have entered, be sure to comment to win an autographed copy of A Hard Luck Christmas, which is going to be my next release and doesn't come out until October. So the winner will get it once we get our early copies. So it'll be a few months yet, but we'll pick a winner for that. And I don't know if you've seen that cover, but I think it turned out really pretty. And that's a sweet Christmas story. I'm excited to see what you guys think about that book. Okay, now I get to the part where we get to give away a $10 gift, Brenda Novak gift card for our store on our website to people for joining me live. So just randomly. Let's see. We are going to go with Michelle Forney. Congratulations. Judy Glaza. We'll do that. And Tessa London. So congratulations. Oh, and it looks like we have lots of other fun people here that I love. Kathy McCarthy Levine. We've got Carol Lynn, Liz Woods. Hello. Ellie Bolin, Debbie Butts, Devin Stokes, and Gloria Valarugu. So we've got lots of people here with us tonight, and we're excited to have you. And you're going to get to meet with Katherine here in just a little bit. So remember to share and like this video for a chance to win a $50 gift card to the Brenda Novak store. And now we get to bring on the one and only Katherine Center. Katherine is the New York Times best-selling author of almost a dozen books. Her books have been translated in more than 20 languages. She's been selected by Book of the Month and Target Book Club. Two of her movies have been adapted for two of her books have been adapted for Netflix, and another one is in the process. She writes laugh and cry books about how life knocks us down and how we get back up. So welcome, Katherine.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited that you're in Texas. That's incredible. Welcome.
Yeah, I got to see my very first rodeo. Well, I guess I saw one when I was a kid. I can't say that, but it was the oldest rodeo in the world, it says. Is that actually true, do you think? That Pecos could have the oldest rodeo in the world?
It feels like that could be true. I'll go with that, sure.
Okay. Yeah, well, it was pretty cool. I mean, they take it very seriously. They had some incredible talent. Like they were announcing, world winner, champion, this and that. And I mean, they were barrel racing. They were doing the bull riding. They had some fierce beasts. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody get thrown like that. And one of the clowns got almost gored. He threw him up in the air, and I was like, whoa! But he just got up. He was fine. But yeah, they take it very seriously, and it was very, very cool. So.
Well, I'm in Houston, and we have our own rodeo. I've never been to Pecos, so that's like a new spot for me. But the Houston rodeo is a thing that my grandmother used to go to with her twin sister, identical twins, and they wear matching cowgirl outfits.
Oh my gosh. I was really wanting a cowgirl outfit last night. I really felt bad that I didn't bring my boots and my hat, because then I would have gotten a picture. I definitely would have posted about that, but I was the only one there, I think, without one.
It's great fashion at the rodeo. The rodeo is always good fashion.
Yeah. Well, I really wanted to see an armadillo because I'm in Texas. So as we were driving, you fly into Dallas, and then you fly to Midland, and then you have to drive from Midland to Pecos. That's how we get here. And so I was like asking Ted, like, let's see if we can, try and find an armadillo. And I'm Googling it. Apparently there's not many armadillos this far west because it's too dry and arid for them. So that's kind of sad. But I did buy the last time I was here. I've only been here one other time with him. And there was this little thrift store, and I went in to look at it. It had all these iron figurines that were like animated animals. So I got a cowboy armadillo.
Oh my gosh. Cool. Yeah. Well, my dad is from Midland, actually, but I have not been there since I was a kid. But when I was a kid, so we have a ranch in Texas, like where, my grandparents had a working cattle ranch. They've both passed away, but now my 85-year-old mom runs the ranch. She crossbreeds Brahmas and Herefords. And I remember when I was a kid, when I was out on the ranch, there was a boy who was visiting us who caught an armadillo. And like, I have this very vivid childhood memory of walking around the corner on the ranch, around the house, and seeing this like teenage boy holding the tail of an armadillo, and the armadillo was just freaking out. I mean, it was just like trying very hard to like bite this kid's hand, and the kid was like, I caught one. So
So
yeah,
they do bite then. They have teeth?
I mean, I don't know if they have teeth, or maybe it's like a beak or something, but the armadillo definitely wanted to get free very badly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I bet. Well, I think they're cute in pictures. So someday I'm going to see a real armadillo here in Texas, maybe when we're a little closer to Midland. But do you watch Landman by any chance?
I have not been watching Landman, but my dad has been telling us that we all need to watch it because he's like,
You need to watch it.
Feels like it feels very like accurate.
Well, and it's set right in Midland.
In Midland, right? I know. My dad's delighted. Yeah, he's thrilled.
Yeah. So I think that all of Taylor Sheridan's stuff is pretty good. So he has written so many series now. So he's really, really big right now. But anyway, back to all things Katherine Center and this fabulous book. First of all, I think we'd like to hear how you got your start. What drew you to writing? Did you always think you'd write? And that you have
so that's a great question. So I decided I wanted to be a writer when I was 12. And it was because I was very, very awkward at that age and very, very miserable as a 12-year-old. And I had two best friends who were also awkward and also miserable. And we somehow got this brilliant idea that we should write novels about the 1980s boy band Duran Duran.
And you did Duran Duran fan fiction?
Yeah, we did. We basically invented fan fiction. And yeah, we cast ourselves as the main characters. There were 3 of us, and we each wrote a separate novel. And then we would just write all week in our little notebooks. And then on the weekends, we would get together and have sleepovers and, put on our PJs and pile into somebody's bed and open up our novels and read them to each other in installments.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yes, 6th grade was misery, but writing those novels was bliss. And that was when I got hooked. I mean, that was my first sort of taste of how novels can change your life, how they can rescue you, how they can shift your perspective, how they can give you something to look forward to. Like, it really was like a life-changing thing to do. We were so hard on ourselves and so miserable, and we so desperately needed some hope and some encouragement. And we invented these fictional versions of these world-famous rockers who could say all the kind and encouraging things to us that we refused to say to ourselves. And
oh my gosh,
it worked. Like, we rescued ourselves somehow.
That begs the question: A, do you still have those copies of those? And B, where are those friends today?
Oh, so I do still have my novel. It's in a storage tub in my attic. And every now and then I like get nostalgic and I decide I'm going to go read a few pages. And it is so bad that I have this, like, physiological, like, biochemical reaction to how bad it is. It's like cutting onions. Like, my eyes start to water and I'm like, oh, that is bad. It's so bad.
I bet it was good for that age, though.
Maybe it's very humiliating to go back and reread it. But those 2 friends, one of them grew up and moved to Amsterdam, and she now lives in Amsterdam and works for a nonprofit. I don't see her very often. But the other one grew up and moved to San Francisco, and she works as a librarian at a boys' school in San Francisco. And that one, we text Duran Duran memes to each other pretty frequently.
Oh my gosh, but neither of them went into writing.
Nope.
Sounds like they've never written a book.
I carried the mantle of the Duran Duran novels for all of us.
Oh my gosh, it would be so fun to have you each write a novel in the same series or something. So what is your day-to-day like, Katherine? Everybody's curious, what's the life of an author like? It can seem very glamorous. I know my family tends to believe that they just kind of write themselves because they appear and it doesn't seem like you're doing much. You're in your pajamas, you're always home, you're always available to them. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, just, she doesn't need time to work. So do you get that too? Or do you just have a set schedule that you stick to? Are you stressed out about deadlines, somebody that has to get prepared before they hit? Or is that like motivation to get going and that's what you need?
Yeah. So, there's kind of a cycle to my year. So the Chippers came out in May, and I've basically been on book tour pretty much ever since. I just did like a 4-week book tour where I was in a different city like every single night, which I love because I'm sort of a hybrid between an introvert and an extrovert. So I am perfectly happy to stay home in my pajamas and just hang out with my imaginary friends like many weeks in a row. But this once a year time when I go out and do this book tour, like it's really fun for me. I just pull my extroverting lever and I get to see everybody and I'm just getting hugs and I'm talking books with book people and it's like crazy fun. Um, but it's a little frantic too. I mean, it's a little bit, you know, a different city every night is a very like, it's a lot of adulting, right?
That's a
You have
lot.
to
Yes.
not lose your driver's license and you have to know what city you're in and you have to like stay on top of just like getting the rental car back to the airport. Like it's a lot of details.
Yes,
Um,
I don't know if you know it yet, but we renovated a vintage Airstream and turned it into a traveling bookstore that I took on tour. So we not only had to do what you're talking about, we had to figure out, how many miles between each stop. And then we had indie bookstores all around the US and we were gone for 2 months. And we drove, it's basically the perimeter of the US. We drove 13,000 miles. It was really fun, but I understand what you're saying. The pressure of get to the next stop, get to the next stop. We thought we'd have time to do sightseeing and some cool Instagrammable moments in between. There was none of that. It was like, get there, get enough food that you can go and do your thing again. So
yeah, no, it's very, and I would say that I am a person who I really like for my brain to be able to just kind of swirl around like this. And, you know, when you are on tour, you have to be very like on top of things. And I can do that, but it takes a lot of like focus and energy. And so it has been a long time since my brain has had a chance to kind of swirl around, which is its favorite thing to do. But I just ended, this is kind of like the grand finale of all that stuff. And now I'm about to switch gears and go back into like working on a new book.
the
But
cave.
the other great part of your question was what's the day to day like? And, you know, I always like to answer this question because I see a lot of advice in the world that says you need to write every single day if you want to be a writer. And I always love to point out that that's not at all how I do it because I kind of do it in bursts. Like I'm a kind of very, I'm a little bit of a like obsessive writer. So I'll go away for like 4 or 5 days when I have a deadline coming up. Like if I know I have a book due in May, I will start in October or November scheduling retreats. And I started doing this when my kids were little and I couldn't just be away all the time. And I had a hard time concentrating if I knew I needed to take people to the orthodontist or something. I couldn't really just get lost. And so I started doing 4 or 5 day retreats at a time where I would go away and just work. And then I would come back and I really wouldn't think about the story. I would just be kind of in mom mode. I would just like run carpool and, you know, do mom things. And then I would go back down for another retreat and I would reread what I had just written with like new, fresh eyes. And then I would plow ahead and do another, 40 or 50 pages and then go back and forget about it for a while. So
Wow, that is the most unusual process I've heard yet. I think it's great though, because I think what happens, at least with me when I'm away from it, even if I'm not consciously thinking about it, I think my subconscious is, because I think that gives you the ability to sort of pile up work in your head and then you go and you kind of spit it all out and then you go back and do your everyday thing as it piles up again. So I mean, it's obviously something that works well for you. How long does it take you to write a book using that process?
So for the first draft, it's about 6 months,
Okay,
on
that's not
and
bad
so
at all.
I do about 3 months of research. I, like you, really like to feel like I know, everything I'm working with in the story really well. And then about 6 months of writing, and then about 3 months on the other end, kind of going back and forth with my editor about stuff.
Nice, nice. So did you go on a cruise to research this one? I would have been like, I need to try them all.
I did. I had been on a cruise as a child in the 5th grade with my family. And then we went back 2 years later and did another cruise when I was in the 7th grade. And it was that second cruise where I actually got my first kiss in life.
Very nice.
And
I love it.
that really stuck with me. I mean, that really is a thing that I have like it crystallized in my mind. And because it was a really great experience, it was a lovely experience. I've always, always wanted to write a story set on a cruise ship. And so that's how the Shippers came about, really.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Where is the guy now? Did you guys ever become boyfriend and girlfriend later? No, don't know.
No, just one glorious kiss at sunset, and that was it. I mean, I have no idea where he is now.
He'd probably be so flattered that it has such a place in your memory.
It does. And and actually that was after 7th grade was that first kiss. And then it was a long dry spell after that. like another 3 years. So I did not get another kiss until 10th grade. And during those 3 years, I really did find myself thinking maybe that's the only one I'll ever have. So it really did become very precious in my memory. But we're not big cruisers. So we hadn't cruised before that. And we didn't really cruise after that. And so really it wasn't until I decided that I wanted to set this story on a cruise ship that I went and took a cruise for research. And I grabbed, my whole family, my mom and my husband and my 2 kids, and I drug them on a cruise for Thanksgiving.
And where did you go? Which one did you pick? Did you do like Mexico or?
So yeah, my mom wanted it to be easy. So we sailed from Galveston, which is like an hour from my house. And we went to the Bahamas. But we stopped on the way to the Bahamas. We stopped by Key West, where Judy Blume has a bookstore in Key West called Books and Books. And we made a pilgrimage to Books and Books. And Judy Blume was actually there that day. And
no. Oh my gosh. That's a very cool moment.
It was.
Wow. How long has this been that you did this? 2 years ago? Or when was it?
So no, actually, so weirdly, I was starting to write this book and doing all this research in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Because that was when I got the idea and I was super excited to do it. And then I was just starting to write, like I was like right at the starting line to start doing that first draft when 2020 happened. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember what was going on with cruise ships in 2020, but
I do, and I just watched that Netflix pooper cruise, and that was just horrifying, right? Like, I didn't know if I'd ever be able to go on a cruise after watching that.
Well, when I was watching all that go down in real time in 2020 on my Instagram feed, and I was like, oh my God, the cruise industry is dead in the water. Like, no one's ever going to take another cruise after this. So I really thought, I mean, there I was trying to write this sort of lovely wish fulfillment, uplifting, joyous rom-com set on a cruise ship. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think this can happen. So I called my editor and I was like, I think I can't write this book. Like, I think nobody's going to want to read this book. Who's ever going to want to go on another cruise? Cruises are ruined. And she was like, I agree. She was like, I agree with you. So we shelved it. And I just, it took 5 years before I got back to it.
But now cruising is so big. So it was such a smart decision, because I feel like it may not have done as well. I mean, even as good as the story is, just because, like you say, the stigma around cruising was so bad. But you guys waited till, I mean, everybody's cruising now. It's like the big hot thing again. And because you don't have to unpack and load up. I mean, you unpack once and it takes you around, right?
It is very relaxed. I mean, it's very lovely to go. But yeah, of course, we didn't do the book during the times of coronavirus, and instead somehow waited until 2026 and brought the book out during the hantavirus nonsense.
I didn't even think about that.
It was literally like all that news was breaking in the 2 weeks before this book came out. And I was like, oh my gosh, we need a new slogan for the book. We have to put like, this book won't give you hantavirus, like on the cover.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize. I didn't make that connection. I'm so out of the news right now. I've been busy working on my own book, and I didn't even know that was a problem. It is now starting to rain. I don't know if you guys can see or hear this, but it's starting to rain here. Was not expecting that. Anyway, so what would you say, Katherine, is the one element that is most important when writing a good story?
Ooh, I can only pick one.
Yeah, you can only pick one.
Oh, that's so hard. Woo! I mean, the first thing that popped into my head, and I'm not sure I'll agree with myself later, but I'm just going to go with it for now, is I think the situation that the people are in has to be like inherently dramatic and inherently a situation that makes us all really curious about what's going to happen.
Great. I love that answer. We haven't gotten that one yet. I mean, it's easy to rely on, oh, character, or, you get some quite often, but that was definitely a new one.
Well, I think that that's the thing I have to be the most careful about with myself when I'm starting to write. Like, character is always very easy for me. Dialogue is very easy for me. I've never even like had to read a book about how to write dialogue. Like, that is the thing that I just kind of came out of the womb knowing
Comes
how
very
to.
naturally to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I used to think it was all voice with books. And now I really think there's like, I have come to appreciate how important the plot is and how you really, really need those people to be in a situation that's got dramatic intensity and that sort of pits them against each other if they don't want to be together, or vice versa, pulls them apart from each other if they're trying to get together. Like, I always think of it like the wrong sides of two magnets. Like when you try to push magnets together, there's whatever that resistance is, that tension that exists, you need to feel that like between your characters and in the situation that they're in. Like whenever I feel that like sort of
then you have that good emotional tension.
And I'm like, yeah, this is going to work. Like this is going to have the kind of energy that it needs to light itself up from the inside.
Well, I want to show everybody that your signature on here, which maybe I bought this one separately. Where is your signature on here? Oh, here it is. There we go. Look, she signed 1,000 of these. How long did that take you?
Oh my gosh. Not too, it wasn't too bad. I always just get a podcast going or like an audiobook and just go right through it.
Do you do true crime or no? Do you ever listen to true crime? Is that not your thing?
I'm not really a true crime person as much. I'm much more of like a love story person. And then I also really love, I just love nonfiction books. I listen to a lot of books about humanity and like what the deal is with like the human. I'm always just like, what's the deal with people? Like, what are we doing? So I listen to lots of books about like how creativity works and how the imagination works and just sort of social science.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. I love that. That's wonderful. For everybody watching, I'm going to do the June box giveaway. We always save a June box to give away at our book group meeting, and we put up a post asking readers to post a question for our guest and RSVP to the meeting, and then we pick from that post randomly somebody to win it. So I guess I better put my glasses back on for this part. This month's lucky winner is Lori Frick Santa Marino. So congratulations to Lori. We'll be posting a list of all the winners that we have tonight in book group. And there will be a link there where there's a giveaway claim form on my website. If you guys would use that, it really helps us streamline, since we have such a small staff, getting everything out. So we will post and tag you in that post, and that will be forthcoming. So now we're to the section called Spill the Tea. This is my favorite section. We started it, when we had a book that was it really lent itself to this kind of thing. And then because it was so good, we're like, oh, well, we're going to just keep doing it because this gives us a chance to ask questions that are a little more in depth. So, or maybe something that can bring up a little drama or something fun. So we are going to start with, what's a trope you don't care for?
In romance, there are a lot of great tropes. But the one that I never am very interested in is one that's called Secret Baby. It's where like the heroine like got pregnant and then had a baby, but never told the sort of love interest whose baby it is. For me, like, I love babies. Don't get me wrong. I had two of my own and I was very fond of them, but it's just not the most romantic thing. Like for me, like when I think about babies, I think about getting spit up on and being very exhausted and very sleep deprived. And so, yeah, for me, like that's never going to be a pull. And that's not to say that somebody couldn't like totally surprise and delight me with some amazing secret baby story. But I'm like, once we've got a baby in the mix, it's just a different dynamic.
It's no longer that fun. Well, if you ever write one, I'm going to be very interested to see how you go about it. If you ever change your mind later and you end up writing one, for the comedic effects, like, I don't know what, 3 Men and a Baby or whatever, I mean, that was pretty. I guess that wasn't really what was Secret Baby, wasn't it? Because it wasn't one of their babies, but anyway, and it was a surprise.
I think there is a fun way to play with that trope. I haven't really thought about it, but now I'm feeling like a challenge coming on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to see if you ever write that. So you are known for witty, rapid fire banter. Is that something you map out, or does it just flow? And the reason why I ask this question is because when I talked to Mary Bly, who also put a lot of comedy, her book I read, she talked about how much work comedy was and how she puts a lot of thought into it and how she actually tries to figure out, exactly what's funny, what's not funny. And I always just thought that if you're funny, it just kind of rolls off you. So where do you stand in that?
Yeah, I think I'm the opposite of what she described. I
Okay.
don't think about it. I don't plan it out. Basically, I just in my head put like some people together in a scene, and then they just start saying funny things to each other, and I just write it down like I'm taking dictation.
Oh,
Um,
that's nice. That makes it easy. Less work.
yeah, I in life am funny, and my husband is very funny, and I would say that there's like the Venn diagram of our interests are basically like two separate circles, right? Like we do not have a lot of overlapping interests, but the one place where we kind of overlap is just joking around and being hilarious. And so that is what we do together. Like I guess some people golf, people have activities they do together, but like we sit around and just try to crack each other up. Like that is
Oh,
what we
that's
do.
awesome.
So I think
I remember
he's
my son growing up, what he wanted, and I'd never heard another kid say this. Everybody wants, oh, a beautiful wife or whatever. And he said he wanted somebody who was funny. And I'm like, really? That's the one thing that you're looking for, somebody that's funny. It was something that I mean, he was probably 12 years old when he said it, but that's what he's always wanted, somebody who's funny.
I think that's very wise. I think
So
he's
too
on.
bad you're taken. But okay, so this is another spill the tea question. I know that you've had a couple movies adapted, or books. I keep saying that, books adapted into movies, and there's another one in the works, which maybe you can tell us all a little bit about. But I know that when Colleen Hoover had her adaptation with the whole Jason Baldoni thing, it didn't quite go as exciting as it could have had there not been all that drama. So have you had to face any drama or anything like that?
So if I don't know of any drama with the actors or anything that happened in the movies that we did. Everybody seems to have been very sweet and lovely. We had Josh Duhamel starring in The Lost Husband, and he could not have been nicer. He was super nice. And Ellie Kemper starred in Happiness for Beginners with Luke Grimes from Yellowstone, and Blythe Danner was in it. And everybody, as far as I know, was completely lovely. The one piece of sort of unexpected drama that came along with The Lost Husband is it came out in April of 2020, and it was supposed to have a theatrical release like all across the country in theaters, and that was the month when every theater in America closed their doors for COVID. And so I did have this moment when I thought, well, that's that, like nobody's going to see this movie now. They released it on streaming services instead. And they actually released it on like off-brand streaming services that you've never even heard of. It wasn't like the big guys. And but I did underestimate how bored and lonely and freaked out and isolated everybody was going to be that summer. And that people wound up finding this little indie movie about people bouncing back from hard things down here in Texas, and it did really well. It started selling like hotcakes, so that was a big surprise.
Oh, that's a happy ending to that. That's wonderful. Because it would be so disappointing to finally get that big break and then have something like that as an obstacle for sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, have you ever cut someone's hair when you weren't supposed to, or have you ever cut your own? I'm referring to something.
I went to summer camp as a child, and I cut many people's hair at summer camp as a kid. And I will tell you honestly, I cut my own hair all the time. Like I am a problematic person. Like when I go to get an actual haircut, whoever cuts my hair is always just like, you have been hacking at your own hair. I encourage you to be forgiving. And whenever it's getting too heavy, I just cannot resist getting in there with scissors and just cutting it like I'm a bonsai plant.
Oh,
So
mine would show it. It's so fine and straight. I can't get away with any of that. And I was such an obedient child. I knew my mother would kill me if I ever did anything like that. So I definitely didn't. It must speak to the fact that I'm not as strict as my mother, that I had Alexa, who this book group knows, when she was a little girl, she cut the neighbor's hair, the little boy's hair. And the dad, who was mean, and he was a mean drunk. Like, he'd get drunk and stand out front and yell at everybody who's driving in the car, they're going too fast. But I mean, it was a cul-de-sac with 4 houses on it. So even if you floored it from the time you turned onto the you couldn't get up to 25 miles an hour. I mean, it was impossible. So he would just come out to yell at everybody, you know. Anyway, so this guy shows up at my door, you know, bang, 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 and he's got his little boy and his hair's all butchered from my daughter. And so he lets go of him while we're talking. And he's like saying what a terrible my mother I am, that I should be watching my kids better, that how did I let her get scissors to do this? Because I think she was only maybe 5. And so I'm like standing there feeling pretty crappy and not really knowing what to say. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see his son, and his son has a butcher knife and he's trying to cut down my tree. And I mean, it could not be timed better. I was like, I'm just getting ready to respond and try and defend myself in some way. Like, I'm sorry, but it's only hair. I mean, it will grow back. It's not like she cut him, you know? And then I look over and I'm like, oh, you mean I need to watch my daughter closer, like, so she doesn't get anything sharp like this? And then he turns around, he just went and grabbed his son and dragged him back home and never said anything else to me. So it was pretty funny.
oh my gosh, that is crazy. I love it.
Well, the body in your hair would actually be more forgiving, so I can see why you would do it. But you did it when you were little too. That's to your own hair or to someone else's?
Both. Never good. And Barbies too. We cut the Barbie. Yeah, we were the neighborhood that I grew up in. There were a ton of kids on my street, and we were all just lightly supervised at best. We got into all kinds of shenanigans.
Wow, that's the best kind of neighborhood, as long as everybody remains safe. Because those memories, I think, the times when I were little and when I was little and I was able to run and just play like kickball with the kids, that was so fun. And it's sad that we can't let that happen anymore with our own kids. Like, I felt like I had to watch them like a hawk, and there was none of that freedom, you know, that I enjoyed so much. Yeah. But okay, last question for Spill the Tea. What's the weirdest thing you've ever used as a bookmark? And I have to tell you, do not say condom. That is not what I'm after. That's what Mary said. She goes, and she framed it like, she goes, well, I guess what you're trying to get me to say is condom. And I'm like, no, that never crossed my mind. Oh my so God. It was a pretty hilarious moment. So condoms taken, pick something else.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm picturing that in my mind. So what is the weirdest thing I've ever used as a bookmark? I mean, I have lots. I've definitely used barrettes.
Okay.
Honestly, I am not very nice to books. I always feel like I write in them, I crack the spines, like I'm a dog-earer. I will fold pages in half. And honestly, for me, I always feel like that's how I make the book belong to me. I always feel like it's kind of like the Velveteen Rabbit. Like, the more you have drawn all over them and written notes in the margins and highlighted stuff, the more you've kind of made it yours and made it real. Like, especially with books I love, I always just want to take them in, I just want to make them a part of my whole self.
It's your way of absorbing them into your life.
Yes. And I do actually remember the worst I ever was to a book was when I was reading, it was an Emily Henry book. And I was reading, I think it was Beach Read, maybe. I was reading it in the bathtub and I accidentally dropped it, and it just went down like the Titanic, like down into the bathtub. And by the time I pulled it up, the whole thing, it was just drenched. But I was reading and I wanted to get to the end. Like, I was like, but it was so wet. And so I got out the blow dryer and I was like trying to dry it, which did not work at all.
Oh my gosh. I hope you posted a picture of that book.
I did, actually. And I tagged her. I was like, look what I did to your book. I'm a monster. I'm so sorry.
I'll have to look back for that one. That's so funny. Well, now we get to chat a little more specifically about your book, The Shippers. We have some great questions that our readers have submitted for you. For those of you who haven't read it yet and might be wondering whether this could be your next read, it's about a chronically unlucky in love woman who sets sail on a cruise ship for her sister's destination wedding, only to enlist the help of her male long-lost childhood bestie to win over her old high school crush. So it's as fun as that sounds, too. You're going to love it. So I hope you will read it. And Lori Santamarino wants to know what your inspiration for this book is, but we kind of covered that already. You want to just say it in a sentence or two and we'll go on?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I will say is we took this cruise when I was in 7th grade, and I did get my first kiss on this cruise. But it also was a moment in my real actual life that it was a kind of a crossroads for a lot of real human things that happened. And one thing was that my grandmother, who was my mom's mom, who was pretty much my favorite human being on the planet, got very sick very suddenly right before we were scheduled to take the 7th grade trip, and died. She passed away, and my parents had already paid for the trip, right? And so there was kind of this weird moment after that happened. Like it was like maybe 3 weeks afterwards when my mom, they were like, should we cancel? Well, like, what do we do? And my mom was like, well, we might as well go. So we went on this trip, but we were all grieving and kind of
Sad, yeah.
and then, but it was actually a good distraction, right? Because we were so far away from anything familiar, and it just felt, in a way, almost like a relief. So there was that element to it. And then the other thing that I did not know when I was on that trip as a kid was that my parents were actually right on the verge of deciding to get divorced.
That was a part of the book I really loved, was the parents' relationship, yeah, and the
Yes.
work. Yeah, I thought that was definitely a fun added. Well, I wouldn't say. I mean, it was fun in ways, but it was also very meaningful.
It was, and so like, there were all these sort of elements in the story, and that's partly always why I wanted to write about it, because I felt like, yes, it's fun, it's forced proximity, it's a cruise, it's summery, there's all this sort of stuff about it that's kind of delightful. But the reality of the humans on the boat was a lot messier than that. And so it allowed me to think about the story in these layers that had some depth and some complexity to it.
And take it a little deeper.
Yeah. And so, the whole story with JoJo's dad in the book, she kind of starts out the story thinking about him in one way and kind of viewing him as sort of the root of all of her troubles. And then she learns a lot about him on this she
gets a different perspective. Yeah.
It is. And I loved bringing in Grandma Dodie because she had some of the same kind of energy of my actual grandmother, who was very vibrant and delightful and a lot of fun. And so it was just nice. It was kind of, it was a way to bring back that trip in a very different way and to kind of think about it from a new angle.
Oh, I love that. That's a good answer. Jeannie Chambers said, I love how you chose a character who doesn't have it all together, but sort of thinks she does. Is there any reason you chose such a vulnerable character? I loved this book and the HEA and all the laughs.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's very sweet. I always like to write about messy, complicated, but lovable people. I never start writing until I kind of know what it is that my characters are going to need to rethink over the course of the story.
Right. There's got to be change from the beginning to the end. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like kind of one of my favorite parts of any story, is seeing how what happens in the plot changes the characters. And I really like to write stories about things getting better. I like to write stories about people who have to kind of get knocked down and try to get back up and like figure out who they want to be in the face of it all. And so I always start with people who are flawed, but I really like them to also be lovable. I want them to be people you can root for, because I like a story that has characters I can root for. I love that feeling of like, come on, you got this. You're going to figure this out,
Right.
So, so JoJo is flawed. She's not as good at love as she would like to be. She's not as good at reading people as she would like to be. She's kind of oblivious to some of the people that are right there in her immediate vicinity, Cooper in particular, in a lot of ways. But she grows a lot during the course of the story. I mean, the plot just basically pummels her with opportunities to kind of rethink some of her notions about how life works and who she is, in the
so that she can evolve and become, yeah, I think it's very motivational when you read books where the characters do face something that's difficult and you watch them overcome it. It makes you feel like the problems in your own life are also surmountable. And so it gives you fresh encouragement. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about reading a book and seeing the characters work through the conflict, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think fiction is a kind of virtual reality for human life. And if the writer's doing their job, we get to go into that story and we get to climb into the skin of those point of view characters. And we get to go through that struggle, like not just with them, but like as them. And
Yeah.
we get to confront the things they're confronting. And of course, it's through real life experience that we gain wisdom in life, right? And so when we get this sort of virtual version of real life experience, it's sort of a cheat. We get to pull wisdom out of the characters' experiences and kind of take it for ourselves. So yeah, I think stories make us better at life. They're really
Yeah,
good.
I agree. I think that those who are well read have lived 1,000 lives, which makes them wiser, more empathetic, less closed-minded. So it's sort of gets to the root of all evil. Eradicates that. If we would all just read more, and it gives us expands our mind.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
Yeah. So Vicky Watts says, "Have you been on a destination cruise wedding? And what was the most fun about writing this book?"
I have not been on a destination cruise wedding. I have been to many weddings and a couple of cruises, and then I just kind of merged them together. Um, but I love I love a wedding setting, right? Because there's just a lot of drama involved. The stakes are so high. This is the bride and the groom. This is this huge moment in their life, and then everybody else has been pulled in supporting roles in various ways. And so the idea of a wedding, and of course JoJo's own wedding has kind of gone awry right at the beginning. I don't think that's a spoiler.
No, that's not a spoiler. We can talk about the first scene. Is yeah, good.
So JoJo showing up on this cruise ship wedding right in the wake of her own sort of romantic debacle, and then and now she's trapped on a ship for 8 days with her entire childhood neighborhood, right, and her childhood crush and her childhood best friend. And so I love the forced proximity of having them all.
Yeah, that was very smart, I think, as to keep them all in one place. And then, because in real life, you could just stay away from these people, right? But the close proximity really worked because it forced them to be together, and then they have to work through a certain degree of their problems with each other.
That was fun. I forgot the second part of the question. The first part was, have you been on?
It was, what was the most fun about writing this book?
Oh my gosh. Okay, the most fun part, hands down, no question, was the fact that it was a childhood friends, two lovers sort of story arc, which is something that I have never written before. I didn't know anything about how much fun that was going to be. And, I've written lots of love stories in my life. And typically the characters are sort of meeting for the first time, kind of at the beginning, and then getting to know each other the way that you do. But in this situation, they already knew each other. They knew each other from chapter one. There's this intimacy and this closeness and this shared understanding about the other person from chapter one. And he has her in a headlock by chapter two. I mean, I just felt like I could just take off running from the very beginning. There was no ramping up.
You didn't have to build that more difficult part of the relationship where you were just coming to know each other and building. Yep. And sometimes I think it is easier to bring in a characters that they already knew because you have this shared background that you can rely on and use kind of a shorthand to bring the reader up to speed instead of having to build that all, line by line.
Yeah. So having the two of them together, and the fact that they knew each other so well allowed me to just have them tease each other and banter and give each other trouble from the get-go. And I loved that. And then my job was to take this existing friendship that's got some mysteries about it, right? Like he ghosted her 4 years ago and she does not know why that happened. So there's some unanswered questions for her and some tension in the relationship. But basically it's to take this existing friendship and just to light it on fire and make them just fall madly in love with each other. And that was beyond fun. I mean, there's just no...
So is this your favorite book you've written so far, or can you pick a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I love them all in different ways. I would say that generally speaking, my new book is always my favorite because I'm just still in the euphoric, madly in love phase with the new book. But this is the most fun I have ever had writing a book. because it just kind of wrote itself. I mean, putting all these people on the cruise ship, I would just sort of watch what was happening and then just write it all down. I mean, it didn't feel like work. It felt like play.
It's so nice when you can just channel one of those, right? I'm writing one of those right now where it's a spec book. I'm not on contract. I'm still on contract for my other books, but I just happen to have the space and I just really had the idea and I thought I really want to see if I can grow and stretch in this area because it's not something that I've typically written. And it's first person for one, which is new to me. And it has just poured out. I mean, I think I'm at today, I hit like 380. So the book's almost done. And I only started it, a few months ago and have had so much travel and promotion and other things to do in between that it kind of just wrote itself. So I'm anxious to see if anybody likes it.
Well, I feel like it's got to be good. I feel like when they write themselves, there's magic there, and I feel like people always love magic.
Yeah, we'll see. Who's your editor? Is it Jennifer Underland?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I remember when she was Jenny Cruzy's editor and loving some of the humor and stuff that was in Jenny Cruzy's work as well. And of course, Janet Ivanovich. So she definitely has had a lot of authors who write humor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joanne Hunter says, did the way the characters progressed through the book surprise you in any way?
I was very surprised by the arc that JoJo goes on with her dad, because when I started out the book, I was just like, oh, okay, JoJo has, father issues. And he was kind of this very absentee, workaholic kind of dad. And, I wasn't really going to do much more with that. He was just kind of going to be the butt of the joke. And then, of course, once I got them all stuck on this ship together, she kept running into her dad. And she kept, knowing that her dad was trying to get back into her mother's good graces, like he was in the story. There just kept being these little moments where she would see things about him that she wasn't expecting, or new perspectives on what he was trying to do. And I kind of fell in love with her dad, just as a character. And I started wanting the two of them to connect in a real way. And so much of the story became this unexpected sort of friendship that develops between JoJo and this dad who she didn't really feel very close to going into the story. So that did surprise me. That was not planned, and it turned out to be one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I love when you have these, either a walk-on character or this added depth or a new angle that kind of shows up, and it deepens everything. Then that person is not just, like you say, the butt of the joke or a cardboard character prop in the background. They kind of step forward and become more real and part of everything. I think that's a magical moment. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Okay. So Wendy Norman asks, how long did it take you to write this book? You said it just poured out. Was it one of your quickest?
Well, I mean, so it always takes me about 6 months, I would say, from the start. And I had a lot of other things going on when I was trying to write this book, because I got invited to come to the movie set for this movie that's being made of my book, The Bodyguard. And I did not want to miss that. And I also got invited to speak at some things, and, it's hard to say no to these things. So I always try to have this period of like cocooning, sort of between like January and May, when I'm not doing anything. I'm just in my pajamas writing. But this year I had a hard time doing my usual cocooning because I kept saying yes to things that I just couldn't bring myself to say no to. So it took me the same amount of time that it usually does, but it felt, I was worried about the timing. There was an ice storm where I missed one of my writing retreats. There was a flea infestation at the house that I usually go to, and I had to pivot and go to a hotel. So they were like, I felt besieged, and yet I didn't really have to worry about it. I mean, in a way, also, you have to add in the 5 years between when I started and got the idea and worked out the characters and when I actually wrote it. I think there's a little bit of like a slow cooker element that can happen. You get the idea for a story, but you can't write it right away. And so it's just back there and it's just marinating. And then by the time you do get to write it, it's like ready, right? It's just like,
it makes it easier for sure.
Yeah. 6 months, 5 years.
Did anything crazy happen on your wedding day? Cindy Gianella wants to know.
On my wedding day, well, it did rain on my wedding day.
That's supposed to be lucky though, right?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it was an outdoor wedding. It was in the backyard of my mother's house, which her dad built.
Oh, wow.
And he owned a building materials company. So all the bricks that house is made out of came from his brickyard, and all the
Wow.
windows, came from his warehouse. And so it's a very special sort of house that my mom still lives in, that she grew up in. And we had set up the backyard for this lovely wedding. And it was November in Texas, which in theory is the point when it's cooled off from
Yeah.
summer. Um,
Yeah.
but it was still pretty hot, and it was still very moist. You're in the dry part of Texas. I'm in
Very
the,
much so.
yeah, I'm
It's a
in the
dust
swamp.
bowl right now. It's just the
Yeah, yeah,
dust is blowing, and yeah.
yeah. We're the opposite because we are down near Louisiana, near the Gulf Coast, and it's lots of
Ah.
bayous. And, like, we've got alligators, and it's
Oh,
very humid.
wow.
And so, it did rain, and we did wind up having to get last minute tents to go over the backyard. And
Oh.
and actually, I had a long wedding dress, floor length wedding dress, and we never did get the mud out of the
Oh,
hem.
out of the hem. Yeah. We actually have been posting our wedding dresses because it was so hilarious, your description of the wedding dress that got kind of forced upon JoJo in the first scene. We thought that was so funny. So maybe you want to go back and look at my wedding dress. So I posted it, and everybody in book group has been posting theirs. So if you guys haven't done it yet, be sure to post yours. Catherine, we would love to see a post with your wedding dress if you have one, because it's kind of fun to look back and see the different styles and what they look like. Mine is very dated, but but we also faced rain when Alexa wanted to do a destination wedding in Italy 2 years ago. We were like so excited about it, and everything was going so well. And then at the last minute, it started raining, so we had to pay for these tents to come and cover everything. And luckily, it still came off beautiful, and it was fine. But of course, it would have been even better without that. But we keep reminding ourselves that it's lucky. But and that's what actually gave me the idea for Meet Me in Italy, a book. So I guess in that way, it is lucky.
It's lucky. That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah. So that's great. Denise Scott says, was it hard becoming an author after having been an editor? I was really curious about this myself. She said, is there anything you are especially looking out for while writing or avoiding it? Because I know if my editor is too loud, it's like a faucet, just tightens it down to where you get drip, drip, drip. And if you give yourself permission to just kind of let it flow and correct it after if you need to, then you can open up that floodgate and get it going. But as a former editor, is it easy to turn off the editor side or harder?
Wow, that's a good question. So I did not work in a professional capacity as an editor. I did edit a literary magazine called Gulf Coast when I was in graduate school, but that was like a volunteer, activity. And
Oh,
so that was not, so that's a different, I mean, I have done so many writing related things. Like, I taught creative writing to little kids, and I taught freshman English at the University of Houston when I was in grad school, and I edited this literary magazine. But I think that's a little bit different from, I mean, if you are a real editor and that's your job and that's what you do all day, you really do have to like have a very particular kind of brain, I think, that does
yeah.
look for stuff that can be
You'd have to be
fixed.
able to switch those hats so completely, I feel like, or it
Yes.
would just
Because,
make your job harder.
yeah, because editing is like this, and
Yeah.
writing is like that. But I do think that even if you're just a writer, you need to be able to do both, right? Because you
Yeah,
need to
true.
kind of, like, I always think when you're starting a book, you're kind of creating a universe of people and things, and anything could happen, and you're kind of going really, really big. And then when it's time to actually write it, you have to shrink it back down and fit it into 300 plus pages, and
Yeah.
also make it into lines of text, right? You have to really
Right. And it has to
jam.
be somewhat of a linear story. I mean, it has to be cohesive and
Yes.
all. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
it'll
have to
be
do the big picture and the little picture at the exact same time,
right.
which is
Right.
tricky. So I do think you have to have both of those skills.
So do you
Um,
edit as you go along, or do you edit after you finish the whole thing? Like some people just put it all out there and then they go back and refine it. I'm a different kind of writer. I have to write 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like I have to build like it's a foundation, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Like it has to be real solid and as perfect as I can make it. Then I do this level and I work on that. And so I kind of build back like that. But
Yeah.
I know
I
the
think
book of the month is like, just write your whole book, but it wouldn't work for me. I would end up wasting so many pages because I jet off somewhere else. And it's just not what works for me. What works for you?
Yeah, I think I'm more like you. I mean, I got to be an in conversation partner with Kristen Hanna a few years ago when she came to Houston, and she has my same editor. She has Jen Enderlin, and
Yeah.
she was talking about how she writes long, right, and then
Yeah.
she trims it
I
all
tend
back.
to do too.
And I'm the opposite. I write short, and so like my first draft will be like barely 300 pages, but then
Oh, wow. Mine are
the full
always like 450.
yeah, see, and so for me, that's harder. I like to get the bare bones down and then go back and flesh it out and fill it in.
Okay.
And
That
so,
seems like the much smarter approach, I will admit.
well, I'm always afraid that I'm going to get off track, and so I only
Yeah.
want to put in what absolutely has to be there, and then go back in and figure out what I need to sort of linger on and do much more 3D.
Flesh it
Um,
out a little bit more. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I love that. We're running out of time. We're already at 8:05. And so let me just pick a couple more questions real quickly. Lynn Powell asked, how much of what you write comes from personal experience, yours or someone else's?
Ooh, that's such a good
Or is
question.
it just all your imagination?
So, no, there's definitely personal experiences in there for sure. Um, I I always think of writing fiction as like making a collage.
Okay.
So you're like pulling things that happened to you, things that you dreamed, things that you read about in the newspaper, things that happened to your mom, things that happened to
Yeah.
friends, and you're kind of taking pieces of all of that and then, you know, ripping
Yeah,
it
I
up.
think that's a good way to explain it. I agree. Yeah.
So
I
there's
think that
always
is
elements of things, but they get quite mutated as they work their way into becoming the story because the most important thing is the story and everything that's there has to serve the story. But I think
right.
the way to make a story feel real and feel true is to ground it in details and specifics. And so,
Mhm.
I always try to make everybody feel very three-dimensional and very real. I mean, and to me they do feel three-dimensional
Yeah.
and real. Like by
Oh,
the time I'm
absolutely.
writing, they
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
people. You probably have that too. It's like, you want to talk about them the way you want to talk about your friends because it all just feels so true. And
Yeah.
so I work really hard to make sure that everything that's going in has a lot of specifics to it. And so I do pull a lot of specifics from my own life. A lot of the sort of funny things that people say in my stories are things that my husband and I have said to each other. And
Uh-huh.
it's
Oh, that's great.
not it's not word
Where
for
did
word.
you two meet? Where did you and your husband meet?
He was my little sister's alumni interviewer for the college that she went to.
Oh my goodness.
He went to a tiny little college in Ohio called Kenyon College, which
Okay.
is also where the writer John Green went to college.
Oh my
And
goodness.
um, and then he was from New York, but he moved to Texas after that. And I met him when my sister was hanging out with a bunch of these boys who had all gone to Kenyon College from our high school.
Uh-huh.
And he was I was very kind of arty in college. I went to Vassar College and I was like a poet and I was, thinking deep thoughts. And he was like the captain of the track team. He was like very sporty and when I met him,
So are you
he just
saying he doesn't think deep thoughts?
I'm sure he has many deep thoughts, but just different than ones I would recognize as deep thoughts. He's definitely not a poet on any level.
Sounds
In
like
any
my husband, actually. That's why I'm laughing.
But yeah, so it didn't like we met the night that we met. Um, it just didn't occur to me that he would be interested in a person like me. I just felt like we were different categories of people.
Yeah.
But apparently, on that very first night, I was 22. I had just graduated from college. On that very first night that he met me, he was like, "That is the girl I'm going to marry."
Oh my
Like,
gosh, I love that story. So how long did it take him to get a ring on your finger?
so we started dating pretty quickly after that. He was very goal oriented. He was like, I think we need to date each other. And within about 2 weeks of starting to date, he said, I think we're going to wind up getting married. And, my parents were divorced, and I didn't have like the greatest opinion of marriage at that moment in my life. And I was like, I'm not sure what I even think about marriage. And this really feels quite sudden. And, this is like kind of, and he was like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going to talk you into it. Like, you're going to decide this is a great idea. And I was like, knock yourself out, buddy. Let's see what happens. And he did, he did talk me into it. And I'm so glad that he did, because he is the nicest person in the world. I mean, he's hilarious.
Oh, I love that.
Warm-hearted. Today, he was telling me, this is a true conversation we had this morning, and I did not know this about him. He was telling me that every day he tries to do a good deed. And that's how he described it. He was like, I try to do something good for somebody every single day. It's like on his to-do list. Like,
do a good. I love that.
Yeah,
so
he's just
cute.
He's the best.
What a good guy.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. He is.
How many kids do you have? You have 2, and how old are they?
Yeah, they are, they're almost grown-ups now. I've got one who's going to be a junior in college, and one who just graduated last year from college, my daughter, Anna, who's a math person. And I based all of JoJo's math stuff in the shippers on my daughter, Anna's math abilities.
She must love that. Do they read your books?
They used to read them. As they've gotten older, they read them less, and that's totally fine. They always feel like now the love stories just remind them of me and their dad, and they're like, it's a little too close to home.
It's a little too close to home. But are they big readers otherwise?
Yeah, they are. They are. My son Thomas goes to a school called St. John's College, which they do a thing called the Great Books Program, where they read the 400 greatest works of Western civilization, starting with the Greek.
I would love to get that list and start down it.
I know, it's fascinating. And they, he's a huge reader, and he's way faster than I am. I mean, he could just blow through stuff in an astonishing rate. So he's leaving us all in the dust book-wise.
Wow. I'm impressed. Way to go. It's fun to learn a little bit more about your family. It's cute. What does your husband do?
He's a 7th grade history teacher. He's a middle school.
Gosh. That would be awesome. I love writing historicals. He would be a great asset. Have you ever thought of writing historicals?
I haven't, but if I ever did, he would be a very good person to know.
Yeah.
I did write a book called Things You Save in a Fire that is about a firefighter.
I love that title.
And he is he's a paramedic EMT in addition to being a middle school teacher. And he was for a very long time a volunteer firefighter as well. And he's now technically retired. So if you see him in a fire truck, tell him to go home, because he's not supposed to be doing it.
I will. I've gone over because you're so fun to talk to and so interesting. I better let you go. But thank you so much for joining us. Before you leave, do you want to tell us what you're working on next?
Yeah. And also, I just want to thank you so much for picking the shippers and making this book.
It was so fun.
Thing. I mean, I just feel so honored to be here, and you're such a delight. And I think your book box whole situation is just incredible and lovely, and you're such a dream.
Well, thank you for going to all the work to sign these. I know that that's a big ask, so we appreciate you.
I was delighted to sign them. I had a great time. I'm so grateful to you. So I've got a new book that I just turned in that will that'll come out in 2020. What are we in now? 2026. It'll be in 2027 next year. It'll come out. I don't know when yet. Sometime in May. And do
you have a title?
I do have a title, but we haven't announced it yet. We are we're working on covers right now, and I think my cover is going to be maybe a little bit different from what we're used to, which I'm excited about. It's always nice to change things up a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes it's necessary. I mean, this is darling, but there's been a lot of this type of cover. It became so popular that I think that they're probably wondering what the new iteration is now, right?
Yeah, there's just something about, I mean, sometimes you stick with things and you just love it, and it's so hard to let it go. But I do think you need to evolve a little bit with covers, and I feel very grateful because the woman who illustrated this cover, The Shippers, also has done all of my books since The Bodyguard. Her name's Katie Smith, and she's in Scotland, actually. And I just think she's a phenomenal illustrator with such a great sense of color and design. But but yeah, we're gonna try something a little different. So stay tuned. I will be,
How interesting that she's in Scotland. The gal who designed Meet Me in Italy is in the UK. So, um,
oh
yeah,
wow.
well, I mean, kind of a funny, what are the odds of that? But yeah, a lot of people don't know that covers actually have trends just like fashion or, you know, decor or whatever. So it's kind of interesting to see, you know, what it evolves into. But anyway, we'll let you get on with your night. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. Love your work, and we'll be looking forward to the next book and hearing what that title is.
Thank you so much, Brenda. This was a blast.
Okay, take care.
Okay,
And
thank you.
everybody else, before we go, I am going to give away Janet Roble, bless her little heart. She has bought two things for me to give away tonight. And they are, one is a Cheers package, and that one is going to go to Valerie York. Congratulations, Valerie. And July's Brenda Novak book box. Thank you, Jeanette, for both of these. Goes to Suzanne Cleary Drews. So thank you, Janet. You always come through and try and help out and help carry the weight of making the book group great. And we really appreciate all that you do. And before I go, I get to announce the top 10 contributors, which of course Janet is one. She always is. She works so hard to get in there and comment and help everybody. And so we appreciate that too. And so does Jo Marie Maderer and Christina Mages and Nancy Brady and Juanita Ramirez and Jen Miller and Star Roybal and Nicole Duval and Cheryl Little and Marie Christensen. That's our top 10 for this month. And we don't pick them. Facebook does. They have a metric that tells us who is most active, commenting and liking the most. And when you make top 10, then your name goes into a drawing. And at the end of the year, we draw out 4 names to share a 1-year Brenda Novak book box subscription. So each winner gets 3 boxes. So 1/4 of the year. And every time you make top 10, your name goes in. So if you make it all 12, you get 12 entries. So anyway, thank you to those people for helping out and answering questions when I can't get to them and helping the posts get some legs so other people see them. That's really wonderful. Remember, like I said in the meeting, to record our read by July 15th on my website under the books group tab for a chance to win a $100 gift card to the Brenda Novak store. You don't have to read along with us every month to earn your enamel pin. You can earn it whenever you finish, so you don't have to stress about that. But to be entered into the grand prize, which is a dedication in one of my future releases, you just have to record that you read all 12 of our reads by January 15th. So if you get a little behind, it gives you a chance to catch up and you can still get in there. Our July read is The Book Tour by Emily Ohanjanians, and I am so excited for you guys to meet her. She is my former editor at Mira, and we worked on several books together, and she was really good at, I call it cutting the fat, like lining out all the extra stuff that I put in there because I tend to overwrite. And so she was very helpful in that regard. And I love her new book. I think you're going to love it too. It's always fun to introduce you to a debut author because it's their, first entry into this writing world. So it's pretty fun that the tables have kind of turned. She was helping me to prepare my books, and now I'm helping hopefully to get some word out about hers. We also will be reading Single Girls by John Searles, and this is going to be such an interesting read. I don't know if you guys remember Helen, trying to think of her last name. I'm drawing a blank. All of a sudden it just slipped my brain. It was right there on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, Gurley, yeah, Helen Gurley Brown. If you remember what she did with Cosmo, it was a really incredible story and what she did for women in general. And he worked for her for 20 years. And so he knows her personally. And this is a book he's wanted to write for a long time. It's a little bit of a divergence from his suspense, but I think it promises to be really wonderful. And he's so easy to interview. You guys are going to love him. So he will be joining us for the meeting. Our meetings are always the last Thursday of the month at 5 p.m., except November and December because of the holidays. So both John and Emily will be joining me. You'll get signed book plates in the book tour book because Emily lives in Canada and it's just not feasible to ship that many books up there, have them signed and come back. You'd end up paying $120 for the boxes instead of $60. But John was able to do it, even though it was we'll have to tell you the story of how we finally got those books signed and how they were left out on his porch and we couldn't get anybody to pick them up and palletize them. It was pretty funny. So anyway, we will tell you that funny story at next book group meeting, which is going to be July 30th at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And since I'm in Texas, we're not going to do the after party tonight. I know we wanted to do one and we put the word out there that we were going to do one, but because of the storm moving in and the internet and everything, I just didn't know if it would even last. So we are going to move that until after July's meeting. I'm going to have a big Cosmo party. It's going to be really fun. We'll dress in pink and we'll be making our Cosmos and all the cool stuff in July's box. So make sure you get your July's box because you're going to get 2 autographed books and some other cool things for this party. So that's it for me tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm sure I'll be doing lives before the next meeting, but otherwise we'll see you July 30th.